I want to shift gears real quick and take some audience questions. We've had a few good ones come in here, so I'm going to just address a couple of those, and then we're going to jump into another polling question for our audience. But I want to take Christopher's question. It's a long one. It's a long Christopher's taken after me asking compound questions. So I'm going to roll through this, and we'll see what we can get to. For off-the-shelf products, we have the additional concern of longer shelf life and storage. Where do we expect advances / solutions to extend this for mRNA? Do we foresee large-scale manufacturing, longer storage and distribution, or do we expect smaller local facilities with expectation of shorter shelf life for most products manufactured in a more on-demand fashion? So I think the last part of that question we may have talked about. You know, we don't see that happening right now. We'd like to, though, right? The challenge has been thrown down. But what about those the first parts of that question around additional concern of longer shelf life and storage?
Maybe I can start then. So RNA vaccines are exceedingly stable at -80. So they can be stored almost indefinitely. And for the indications that we're talking about today, which is oncology in the US, maybe, or in the first world, this is not a problem. So we also don't need enormous large-scale lots here. This is not mass vaccinations according to COVID. Cancer, of course, is the most common killer. It's a tremendously common disease, but for each individual cancer vaccine, the lot size we're talking about and the market size in terms of sheer doses is still not that huge. So I think that the RNA vaccines could be tremendously useful here. Lots wouldn't have to be made that often, so facility doesn't have to be dedicated to make this all the time, and you can probably saturate or meet market demands relatively rapidly and easily.
Okay. Robert, was there anything you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, I think for the first, for first world, the USA, US, Canada, Europe, other first world countries, I don't really see a problem with stability, specifically for that reason that we can store at -80. I mean, we built out the infrastructure over COVID, for, a lot of the advanced, for a lot of the advanced cancers that we're talking about, I'm here excluding, early treatment, like, preventative, cancer vaccines. I'm talking more about, for late stage cancer, most of those are going to be done at centers, cancer centers of excellence anyway, where they have the capacity for -80. But when we start talking about other parts of the world, like for example, we have an extraordinarily, strong partnership with Everest Medicines out of China, and they're, whether you're talking, China, you're talking about, third world countries, they don't have a -80 capacity. So, we, along with many other companies, are working on, on methods to stabilize mRNA LNPs, whether that's a lyophilization approach, whether that's, mixing at the site approach with, some type of micro device. We're working on strategies. And, like everything else, when we were talking DNA vaccines, when we were talking biologics years ago, those were not particularly stable when the field first started. I would anticipate with the amount of, investment and research that's going on in stabilizing, this treatment modality, that, we'll have that problem solved, that we'll have something that's relatively stable at either, -20 or in a refrigerator or even at room temperature, within the next few years, that'll be, that'll do away with that problem and make this much more of a worldwide treatment modality than just a first world modality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we recently announced a collaboration with Pan-African Cancer Research Institute in South Africa, where we will collaborate. And RNA vaccines, in addition to being ultra stable at -80, they're also readily, at least the modality we have chosen, compatible with other technologies such as lyophilization, where you can get really long-term storage at much higher temperatures than ultra cold.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Here is obviously an opportunity for full virus particles, being a little bit ahead on that front. As a company that is interested in global health and running clinical trials within synthetically engineered viruses in the developing world, where even -20 freezers may not be common and available. We are a little bit ahead. Evolution has made viral particles stable to some degree. Obviously, that depends always on the species, what exactly that means within the context of a particular formulation that you optimize. But we're a little bit ahead on that front, but we'll be leveraging that obviously moving forward. So shelf life for this kind of off-the-shelf product, I don't envision that to be a problem.